Hey, good evening there. Prophet Frederick Delaney checking in again. So, as it is written, a watchman on the wall is also a prophet. A watchman on the wall, a seer prophet, must warn the people, or the Lord requires the blood at our hands, which means it's our fault for not helping the people. You don't want this position. It's a bad position to have because if you don't speak, it's your bad, majorly bad, because you're supposed to help a lot of people. So, with that said, okay, this isn't what saith the Lord, it's what a watchman sees and understands. So, in some countries, you see the darkness. It's obviously dark. Like, could be like Washington or different places like London, where rains a lot, it's dark. You see haunted buildings, you see gargoyles on the top of the buildings. It's obviously dark. But the problem is with America, is America is the ones who buy the most children into sex slavery. The biggest amount of drug buyers and organ buyers and buyers of children in sex slavery and everything else is America. So they hide it more. So you're living a fictitious reality, like in Florida, big time, because sun is shining, sky is blue. The beaches are open. Scantily clad women and men on the beaches. Party, party, party. And it may look good in a sense of the flesh, but it's very bad and very dark in Florida. So, and then Florida, we talked about being the front leg of the horse nation, must move, but the leg's going to be broke at the anklet sometime soon. We don't know exactly when exactly. We just also know that the berm on Lake Okeechobee is going to be busted open, and then a flood the lower part of the state again, just as the Everglades are all swampy. Once that berm goes on Lake Okeechobee, which the Army Corps of Engineers put that in there to dry that out for big farms of sugar, the sugar, which is so bad for you. It's worse than drugs sometimes. Diabetes off the charts. So America hides the sin. Let's go back to that. America hides the sin. They're in denial. So we have thousands of churches, like I'll be up in Greenville again on Monday and flying back in, and there's churches like every few blocks there's a church and a church and a church and a church. But it's the Bible Belt. It's religion. It's not relationship. And they're in denial of the power of God. And that's where we come into demonstration of spirit and power, as Paul talked about. We demonstrate it by praying and allowing the angels, allowing Jesus to heal them. We're the ones blocking the spirit, quenching the spirit. And we're subject to death if we keep blocking the spirit, quenching the spirit. And that's how we're going to wake up our brothers. The older brother that stayed in the church and just hung out in church while the prodigals left. They left the building, went out in the world, but then they found God, found Jesus, and they're street ministers. And eventually it'll backburn into the brick and mortar churches, the revelation of Jesus Christ, where we just do it Jesus' way, WWJD, where he healed the sick and raised the dead, and then he taught them. Same as the disciples healed the sick and raised the dead. Then they taught them. So everything's backwards. And that's what the enemy wants. He wants everything backwards and upside down so that you die. So your family dies, your children die. They die of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and everything else, because they put the massive amount of fear out in 2020, and now they're shooting you up with all kinds of diseases. Back in the day, my mother worked in what they call the health department, where they made these potions and they said to boost your immune system. They'll give you a little bit of disease to boost your immune system, so your body won't know how to fight it. Okay? So now everything's fake. Fake leadership, fake churches, fake food, fake. Everything fake. But America is like so asleep and so lethargic. In America, and they're hiding the greatest amount of sin. It says one nation under God is the prayer. But we're like the great Satan, or the major Satan, or the nation under Satan, the main one under Satan. But people don't realize that. And then they don't WWJD, they don't read the book. They didn't read the book Acts. They didn't read the books of Paul. Corinthians, Galatians, Thessalonians, you name it. Otherwise, they would be doing church correctly. The ecclesia would go out and take a city for Jesus, because his inheritance is the people. God wanted a big family, and Jesus' inheritance is the people, to usher them into the throne room, the marriage supper of the Lamb, 7:14. That's what Jesus' job was, to capture, to knock the enemy down, bind him, and loose his people to come in the marriage supper of the Lamb, to release the people into God's family. Okay, release them into God's family. Compel them to come into God's family. We're not talking about a brick and mortar building. We're talking about the marriage supper of the Lamb, the great white throne judgment, and the great white feast, the marriage supper of the Lamb. But you can't get in unless you have a coat of humility, which is inner. It's in here. It's coat of humility is in there. It's not really a coat. They call it a coat, but and some people call it a cloak. It might start out as a coat or a cloak, because maybe you don't have humility. Maybe you need to borrow your brother's coat. But America is in major denial, and we think that everything's nice, and you think that because there's a church on every few blocks in the Bible Belt, that everything's godly and good, while the families are suffering and death, cancer, and everything off the Richter scale. And Jesus calls the word cancer cancel, because it cancels you. The enemy uses it. Jesus healed all diseases. Jesus cured all diseases. But you got to know how, why, when, where, even Alzheimer's. Because we talked about that. It's unresolved conflict. If you could talk to them, get them on a little better diet and talk to them, you could talk them into coming into this present time, because they're stuck in the past. They cannot function in this present time because they're stuck in the past. You can talk to them about the past, about everything, tons of stuff, and have a great conversation with an Alzheimer's patient. But in the present time, they're non-functional, because they don't exist in the present and the present time, such a time as this, because they got stuck. A stone of stumbling, which is lies and liars, stuck them into a position of time back in the day, and that's what caused the dementia or Alzheimer's, to call them to be an alternate time displacement of time, instead of be present and accounted for in the Christ in the present time, such a time as this. So yeah, we need to prophesy another 10,000 years, but and yeah, don't have no audience out here, so sometimes I feel like I'm talking to myself. Sometimes I am, but we're hoping to get the word out, to get the revelation out, so Jesus can heal the sick and raise the dead at your word, your prayer. You are a prayer. Prayers are stored up in bowls. They need to be dumped. They should never been stored up. Should never been blocked. Should never been stored up. Need to be poured out now. In Book of Revelation, the vials that are poured out are the prayers for justice. Because it says, how long? Like type in how long. It says, for more of your brethren to be buried underneath the altar of religion. Buried underneath the altars, which is of religion, instead of altar, A-L-T-E-R, to alter nations. Like a good tailor would alter nations and alter your coat, your wedding garment. So a lot to be said. So signing off for now. I've been in South Florida. Like I said, I had to hang up my carpenter's pencil tape measure for a few days. Now I got to go back into Greenville and do some work. Like and subscribe. You know, if we can get the word out, faster we can get the word out, the better. There's really no time to work, but you know, it's the only way I can support my family is to work. And it is what it is. Like Jesus was a carpenter. Paul was a tent maker. Amen. God bless you.